we discussed how Anne Frank has given her introduction, her family's introduction, before writing diary, before writing the actual pages, that is day-to-day pages of the diary. We got to know about her family. Anne Frank had her birthday on 12th June, if you remember, right? So on 12th June, it was her 13th birthday when her father had gifted her a diary, a notebook kind of diary, right? So she made a use of that she started writing. On 20th June, she started writing a diary, which practice she continued when she went to that secret annex. That secret annex, you remember what is that secret annex?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, Annie's father's office building.
Right, her father's office building where they had been staying secretly away from Nazis, right? So that time she had spent very well with the help of this diary, and she had shared all her feelings with the diary, which she addressed as Dearest Kitty. So Kitty is an imaginary name. Kitty is not a person. Kitty is referred to the diary only, but she communicates to Kitty and she shares and expresses her feelings to Kitty as if Kitty is a person, right? In fact, the young children, small students, when they start reading Anne Frank's diary, so they question sometimes that where is Kitty? Where has Kitty gone? Like Anne Frank has died, but what's about Kitty? What has happened to Kitty? So then we tell them that Kitty is not a person. Kitty was the diary. So this is what very important for you to understand. Okay. Yes. On 20th June 1942, whatever experience she had, she is revealing, she is expressing her reaction and response to that, and sharing her feelings. Her entire class is quaking in its boots. Quaking, shaking, trembling, quaking in boots. When do the children's feet tremble in their boots? When does it happen? Yes, Anmol, when does it happen? You're wearing school shoes, you are there in the school, and there is the situation when you start trembling.
In assembly?
Yes? When?
I'm in assembly.
In the assembly, no. You see that what it is, you start trembling because of fear, because of nervousness. Now, when is the fear or nervousness? When you have not done the homework, when the teacher is going to share marks, when the teacher is going to show you your papers, right? Or the teacher is going to take an oral test or written test, or she is going to start with the revision and you are afraid that you will be asked the questions. All these things make the children anxious, right? So the entire class is quaking in its boots, meaning all the students in the class, they were anxious, they were trembling with fear and anxiety. So it means that they were all nervous. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who will move up to the next form and who will be kept back. What was the reason for their nervousness? The reason was because the result was going to be declared. They were waiting for the meeting of the teachers. There would be a teachers' meeting where the teachers would decide who will move up to the next form, meaning those who are successful, they will be promoted, and who will be kept back. And those who are not successful, they will be detained. So teachers would decide. So they were nervous to think what our fate would be, whether I would be promoted or I would be detained. That was the cause of worry. Half the class is making bets. Half the class is making bets. Now, making bets meaning making predictions, making guesses. One would guess, oh, you will definitely get it. You will definitely be through it. I am little afraid. I don't know what will happen to me. Right? So they were all making bets for each other. Jean and I laugh ourselves silly at the two boys behind us, Cian and Jax, who have staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. Jean is an initial for the name of her friend. She said that Anne and Jean, her friend, they were laughing at the two boys of the class. Why? Because these two boys, they had staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. Meaning all their holidays they had spent on guessing and predicting about their results only. They didn't enjoy their holidays. They just kept on betting on their results. From morning to night, it's you are going to pass. No, I am not. Yes, you are. No, I am not. This is what they had been doing. Meaning they had been so anxious, they were so worried about their result that the whole time they had been discussing their result only. They had been forecasting, predicting each other's result. You will pass, I will not. Right? Even G's pleading glances and my angry outbursts can't calm them down. That is Anne's strength. She, pleading glances, very humbly, politely, she told them, she looked at them, just she glanced at them, just she looked at them, indicating that they should calm down, they should be pacified. And she also gave angry expressions to them that they should stop this behavior. But nothing could pacify the boys. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back. According to Anne, quarter of the class, many of the students of the class, they should be detained. Why? Because she thinks that they are dummies. Why dummies? As they do not participate in any activity in the class. They do not speak, they do not answer. So such students, those who are not interactive, they should be detained. But teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. But just like any ordinary student, Anne also has a reading about her teacher. The teachers are unpredictable. We don't know what the teachers decide, whether the teachers pass these students also or not. We cannot say anything about the teacher's decision. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
After reading this one part of this page, do you understand anything about Anne's character?
Ma'am, she was also anxious about her results.
Okay. Okay. Any quality of her character, of her personality, if you get to know?
No, ma'am.
Just try to make out the way she talks with G, and both of them they discuss. Don't you think that she is friendly?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? She is friendly. I am not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. We'll make it. What she means to say that the girls of the class, they were sure that the girls of the class, they would be successful, they would be promoted to the next class. They'll make it, meaning they would be successful. The only subject I'm not sure about is maths. She said, if I have a reason to worry, then it is because of maths. Anyway, all we can do is wait. She said, but there was no choice but simply to wait. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. Till the teachers are there and the teachers declare results, They all had been consoling each other, telling each other not to lose heart, meaning not to feel discouraged, right? Not to feel discouraged. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them, 7 men and 2 women. Now look here what it is. We just discussed that she is friendly, she is pleasant in her behavior, right? It is confirmed here when she says, I get along pretty well with all my teachers. I get along pretty well with all my teachers, meaning she has a very good rapport with her teachers. She has a very good rapport with her teachers. She must be in the good books of the teachers. She says, I had 9 teachers, 7 men and 2 women. Mr. Keesing, the old fogey who teaches maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talked so much. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. A chatterbox, what can you write about that? I would worry about that later, I decided. I jotted down the title in my notebook, tucked it in my bag, and tried to keep quiet. Yes, another quality of Anne is reflected here. What is that?
She talked so much.
Right, what would you call the person who talks too much?
Chatterbox.
Chatterbox, okay. Any other? Chatterbox is the name given by the teacher. Talkative. Right, she is very talkative. If you get a question to write the character of Anne Frank, then you can write she was very talkative, as her teacher Miss Kissing had also once told her to write an essay on a chatterbox, right? Or he called her a chatterbox, right? So here what it is, you have given the quality as well as you have given the example also. Yes, now she said Mr. Kissing, the maths teacher, who was an old fogey. Fogey is the one who is orthodox, conservative, old-fashioned. He was annoyed with Anne Frank. Why? Because she was very talkative. She was very talkative. After several warnings, definitely he must have warned her to be quiet, not to talk much. As you see in the class also, there are some students who are very talkative.
Yes,
Isn't
ma'am.
it? After the teacher's repeated warnings also, they don't listen, that finally the teacher makes them stand, engages them somewhere. If that also not works, then of course the teacher is helpless and teacher makes him stand in front of the class. Some teachers send the children outside the class too, which is actually not good for the students. Fine. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework. He gave her warnings. She didn't mend her ways. She didn't change her behavior. Then he assigned her extra homework. Now, what is this? Assigning extra homework to Anne Frank only in the class. What do you think? Yes?
A punishment.
Right. He punished her. He gave her warnings first. She did not listen. She did not change her behavior. Then he gave her some extra homework as punishment. Now, what was that extra homework? She was supposed to write an essay. And the topic of the essay was a chatterbox. He gave it deliberately. Why? That is to make her realize, to make Anne realize that she was so talkative, she was a chatterbox. Again, there can be a question. Why did he give this topic, a chatterbox, to Anne Frank? Or what does he mean when he is giving her the topic, a chatterbox? You would say he gave it deliberately to make Anne realize that she was so talkative. Right? Okay. A chatterbox, what can you write about that? He also addressed Anne as chatterbox. What can you write about that? Meaning, now you write about this. And let me see what you will write about it. What he meant to say that you are yourself a chatterbox. So let me see what you write about it. I would worry about that later. I decided. She said that she had decided that she is not going to think about this topic right now. She would see this later. She jotted down, she noted down the title in her notebook, and she just folded it in her bag and just tried to keep quiet, just focused. She tried that she should be quiet now, she should not be talking. Otherwise, there would be another punishment given to her. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So these qualities that we are discussing, you should note down side by side, okay? That evening, after I had finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eye. She went home. In the evening, she completed her homework. And after she completed, that note caught her attention. And then she remembered that, oh, she had to write an essay. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Look at this picture. The girl is chewing the fountain pen. Anmol, you also chew it sometimes. When do you chew like this girl?
Ma'am, when we thought about something.
Right. When we are deeply thinking about something. Right? When we are totally engrossed in thinking. So what she did, she was chewing the tip of her fountain pen, meaning she had been thinking deeply about the subject, a chatterbox, what to write on. She had been thinking of the ideas, she had been thinking of the thoughts, what she should write. Anyone could ramble. Now, this statement reflects her another quality. Try to understand. Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words. But the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. She said, if there had been anyone else, one could have rambled on and leave big spaces. One should have written anything at random about the chatterbox and would have tried just to fill up the pages with the words. Meaning one should not have thought seriously about it. One should have just written randomly, filling up the pages. But the trick was to come up, the trick meaning the purpose of Anne was to come up with convincing argument. She wanted to give a convincing thought. She wanted to give such thoughts in her essay that could convince the teacher what? That the necessity of talking, meaning how talking is also important. Right? She wanted to prove to the teacher that talking is not unimportant. Talking is also important. This is also necessary. This is also needed. Now, do you think that a child who is sitting all the time quietly in the class does not talk at all, the teacher likes that child?
No, ma'am.
No, the teacher doesn't like that child. The child who is not interacting, meaning the child is not active. And the one who talks does express. Yes, definitely, excess of everything is bad. Definitely, there has to be maintained a discipline in the class. So the teacher has to tell the students not to talk. not to talk much, right? But the teacher cannot say no talking at all. Yes, once the teacher starts speaking, one should not talk. After that, teacher gives enough space to the students to talk to her and to talk amongst themselves, right? So what it shows, can you tell me which quality of her character is reflected here? Okay, you will get more the idea. I thought and suddenly I had an idea. She just did not think randomly. She just did not think on the surface. She thought very deeply. She kept on thinking. At last, she had got some idea. And then she wrote 3 pages on the topic a chatterbox, emphasizing on the need for talking. 3 pages Mr. Kissing had assigned me and was satisfied. And then she was satisfied with that. Yes, now do you understand which quality is reflected?
Ma'am, convincing her traits.
Convincing is one such trait, definitely. You will say she is convincing. Another important thing is she is very sincere, right? It is not so that she knows that this is punishment, but she didn't want simply to fill up the pages. She thought, no, the teacher has assigned me. I should write it in a justified manner, proving that talking is important, right? So she has taken it very seriously. She was thoughtful, she was sincere, and she was convincing. I argued that talking is a student's trait. Now here, the content of her essay, just a little content she is sharing with you. I argued that talking is a student's trait. This is the quality of a student, to talk. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. I tell you, as my teacher, I also never liked my students to be sitting dumb in the class. No, I always wanted them to be interactive, and those who were not interactive, I would encourage them. Why in a language class there are a lot many peer discussions and group discussions? Do you have peer discussions and group discussions in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What is the reason? The purpose is this only, that the students, they communicate, they interact, because it is their right to talk, to express. So here in her essay, she had written that talking is a student's quality. It is natural with the students to talk, and that I would do my best to keep it under control. She said, I would try my best to control myself as I talk too much, but that I would never be able to cure myself of the habit, since my mother talked as much as I did, if not more. And there is not much you can do about inherited traits. She says that she would try her best to control herself, that she does not annoy the teacher, that she does not spoil the discipline of the class. But she says that I would never be able to cure myself. She can never eliminate this quality of talking. Why? Because she has inherited this trait, this quality from her mother. Her mother also talked too much. Her mother is also talkative. What she means to say, this is a natural instinct. This is a natural trait of Anne's character, that she is so talkative. She has inherited, she has got this very trait quality from her mother. So she says that she cannot erase this quality permanently. Now, what does it suggest about her? She says, I will control myself, but I cannot cure, I cannot erase this quality permanently. So what does it suggest about her character?
Ma'am, she was sincere that she was trying to.
Here, Anmol, here she is honest, right? She is very honest and straightforward. She doesn't mince her words. She doesn't hide. She does say that, yes, I'll control myself, meaning I'll take care that the discipline of the class is not spoiled. But at the same time, she says that I cannot stop myself completely because this is my habit. So that means she admitted that, yes, she has this fault with herself, which is natural with her. So when she admits, the moment she says, I would never be able to cure myself, it means that she is very honest, right? And how honestly she had made it very clear that she has inherited this quality from her mother. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at my arguments. But when I proceeded to talk my way through the next lesson, he assigned me a second essay. She said that she would not be able, she would try to control herself, but she cannot stop herself. Mr. Keesing read her essay, read her arguments, and he laughed. He was happy to read them, right? But as he started the next lesson, and during the next lesson again, and started talking. Again, he punished her. Again, he tried to prevent her from talking by giving her a second essay. And this time, the topic was, this time it was supposed to be on an incorrigible chatterbox. This time the topic was an incorrigible chatterbox. Incorrigible, that cannot be corrected. Again, that was meant for Anne Frank. She is such a chatterbox that she cannot change herself, she cannot correct herself. I handed it in, and Mr. Keesing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. She handed it in, she took it, she received. And for the next 2 lessons, Mr. Keesing did not complain. However, during the 3rd lesson, he would finally had enough. But by the 3rd lesson, again, he found Anne talking non-stop. He could not check himself. And Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. Now, all the 3 topics which she had been assigned one after another, they all revolve around Anne Frank, her habit of talking. Now, do you think that Mr. Keesing is successful in his purpose of punishing her?
No, ma'am.
No, he is not. He really wanted to punish her? Did he really want to punish her?
No, ma'am.
No, he didn't want to punish her. He simply wanted her to change her habit. Right? But Anne did not change, and Anne has made it clear it's difficult for her. 3rd time, when the 3rd topic was given, quack, 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 who quacks? Any
Duck.
Huh?
Ma'am, ducks.
Duck quacks. Like the duck, she quacks, quacks, quacks all the time. Right? When this topic was given, the class roared. The class was laughing. All the students started laughing. I had to laugh too. She pretended. She also laughed a little bit, pretended as if she is amused. Though I had nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes. She just pretended that she found it interesting, she found it amusing, but actually she did not like. Why? Because she had exhausted her ingenuity, all her original ideas. She had run out of those ideas now. Exhausted her ingenuity, meaning she had run out, she was short off, she had drained out all her ideas now. Now she had no ideas. She had already worked so seriously and sincerely on the two topics. Sorry, for the third topics, she had no ideas. So she was afraid. It was time to come up with something else, something original. But Anne Frank is not going to give up. She is very determined. So this is what we learn about her character. She had almost run out of ideas, but she would not give up. She would continue making efforts. She started thinking that she should write something different but original. Meaning it should not be so that she should see internet or she should see some books. She should ask some people. No. My friend Sain, who is good at poetry, offered to help me write the essay from beginning to end in verse. She had a friend Sain. Sain was very good at poetry. She suggested her that she should write the essay in verse, meaning in the form of poetry. She should write the essay in a poetic way. Oh, the idea was fantastic and different. And I jumped for joy. Anne Frank was overjoyed to get this idea because this was different and definitely going to be very original. Mr. Casey was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I would make sure the joke was on him. She thought that Mr. Kissing had given her such a topic, and he thought he would, this is a ridiculous subject, that is, he would make a fun of her, he would mock at her, but she had decided, I would make sure, meaning she had decided that she would give him an effective reply by writing that topic also, however, in a poetic way. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So what we learn here, she is determined. She would not give up. She accepts the challenges. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. Now, what was this? She had written a poem, she had written a story, an anecdote in the poetic form, in the form of poetry. A beautiful anecdote, right? Basically, what it was a satire on the people like Mr. Casing, a satire on the teachers like Mr. Casing who want the children to be dumb in the class. I hope you understand.
Yes, ma'am.
So she said that the poem was about a mother duck and father swan who had 3 ducklings, baby ducklings. They were very noisy. They would make a lot of noise by quacking too much. So they were all killed by the father for creating so much noise. Luckily, Mr. Kissing took the joke the right way. Anyway, Mr. Kissing, when he read this poem, he took this joke very lightly and he read the poem to the class. He liked it so much that he read it out to the class. He appreciated. He recognized what? He acknowledged what? Anne Frank's creativity, her expression, her ideas. Not only that he read the poem out in the class, but he also added his own comments. And the same poem he had read to many other classes, he went. Yes, when a child does something good and the teacher is happy, the teacher would definitely take that to the other classes and read out there also or present it there also, so that the other students also may get inspired. Right? Since then, I have been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra homework. But she said that after that incident, Mr. Kesing had always allowed her to talk and he would not punish her for talking. On the contrary, Mr. Kesing is always making jokes these days. On the contrary, just opposite to that, what has happened, Mr. Kesing has also changed his attitude now. Now he is friendly with the students. Earlier he was coming just to teach, but now he is friendly with the students. Now he cracks some jokes also with the students. Yes, it is very important for the teacher to crack some jokes also with the students to make the class interesting and to be friendly with the students. And then she ended that page of diary, she ended with yours and. Now yours and we do not write today in the diary yours and. This way of ending is not done. This is done in letter, right? That was long time back when she was doing it, but now the format of diary writing has been changed. That's all in the story.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of story that Anne wrote?
Which story? This one?
Yes, ma'am, the ducks and
Yes.
father.
Yes, yes. What it means, she says that the father had killed the ducklings to death because they were quacking too much. She just wanted to convey that the children have the right to talk. Right? The three ducklings quacked. That was their language. Just like the duckling, Anne was also talking in the class. Right? Just as the ducklings were prevented by the father from quacking, they didn't follow. Ultimately, he got angry and he eliminated them. So what she is trying to convey, that if one is talking, you cannot eliminate one. You cannot eliminate one's right to talk. Because it is natural. It is very natural for we all humans to talk. Right? Yes, definitely. We have to maintain discipline. We have to maintain a decorum in the class or at a place. Right? But this is what she meant to say, that every time she talks and every time he punishes her, how long is it going to happen? If she doesn't, is he going to eliminate her just like the baby ducklings? Is that clear?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
in this way, it was a satire. Satire is also a technique. It is a poetic device, a literary device. Satire is when you are, satire is जिसको हिंदी में या आम लैंग्वेज में आप कहते हैं ना किसी को टॉन्ट करके बोलना, right? Sarcastic way में बोलना. That is called satire. So this was in a very sarcastic way that she referred to the duckling story, but she wanted to convey that message to Mr. Kesing. Is that clear? बात तो वो ducklings की कर रही है, लेकिन ducklings के anecdote से वो Mr. Kesing को convey कराना चाह रही थी. What you are doing? You are acting like that father. Got it? She wanted to make him realize, don't act like that father swan. The poor ducklings, they have lost their life because they were quacking. So don't react like that. Everyone has the right to talk. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay, the questions and answers you will read. And I think if you have any particular question where you have a problem, I'll discuss next week. Okay? And then next week, whatever you want, you please let me know.